From beautiful girls to a prison cell, a scandal that brought a global pop star to his knees. The star was Sean Kingston, and the crime, as audacious as it was just one piece of a sprawling million-dollar fraud scheme. A scheme that saw him trade a sun-drenched, rented Florida mansion for the cold, hard reality of a jail cell. Think back to 2007. The world was a different place, and the soundtrack of that summer was dominated by one song, a feel-good anthem you couldn't escape, Beautiful Girls. The voice behind it belonged to a baby-faced 17-year-old with a disarming smile. Sean Kingston became a household name overnight. He had a #1 hit across the globe, and in the process, he made history as the first artist born in the 1990s to top the Billboard Hot 100. He was a phenomenon, collaborating with megastars and living a life of unimaginable, explosive luxury. Sean Kingston and his mother are accused of orchestrating a sophisticated million-dollar fraud scheme. The life of extreme luxury he so desperately flaunted for his followers, the life he claimed was the fruit of his musical labor, was allegedly a sham. It was a hollow empire built on a foundation of lies, fake wire transfers, and a string of broken promises. His rented South Florida mansion, once the perfect backdrop for his social media posts showcasing a life of success, became an active crime scene. It was raided by a SWAT team, its doors breached, its contents hauled away as evidence of his elaborate cons. How did the voice that defined a summer for millions, the artist who sang about being way too young to be in love, end up here? This is the shocking story of Sean Kingston's meteoric rise and his spectacular, devastating fall. Kingston Paul Anderson was born in Miami, Florida, on February 3, 1990. From his first breath, music was in his blood. His grandfather was none other than the legendary Jamaican reggae producer, Lawrence Jack Ruby Lindo, a titan of the genre. Kingston's early life was a tapestry woven from two distinct worlds, the vibrant, multicultural energy of Miami and his family's deep roots in Kingston, Jamaica. This dual influence would become the bedrock of his unique, genre-bending sound. But his childhood was no fairy tale. It was marred by a profound instability and hardship that would shape his future in ways he couldn't yet imagine. In a formative and traumatic chapter of his youth, his mother, Janice Turner, was incarcerated for bank fraud. With his mother in prison, a teenage Kingston was left briefly, terrifyingly homeless. He found himself adrift in the world, a ghost in his own life, bouncing between the homes of friends and relatives. It was a world away from the stardom that awaited him, a period of survival that likely instilled in him a deep-seated fear of losing it all. Despite the turmoil, his ambition never wavered. It only sharpened. He was a teenager with a singular, burning focus. Using a friend's computer, Kingston relentlessly chased his dream on the most powerful social media platform of the era, MySpace. He identified his target, hit producer J.R. Rodham of Beluga Heights Records, and began a campaign of digital persistence. He sent daily messages, a constant stream of hope and ambition fired off into the void, praying for a response. His persistence against all odds paid off. Rodham, inundated with messages from aspiring artists, finally noticed. Something in Kingston's plea cut through the noise, and after discovering the young artist's raw, undeniable talent, he signed him to his label in a joint venture with Epic Records in 2007. The dream was no longer a dream. In the studio, Rodham helped Kingston hone his signature fusion of pop, R&B, and reggae. One night, a classic melody sparked an idea. Kingston heard the iconic bass line from Benny King's "Stand By Me," and a light bulb went off. Within a single hour, he had penned the lyrics to what would become Beautiful Girls. The song's ascent was nothing short of meteoric. Released in May 2007, it didn't just climb the charts, it exploded. It shot straight to the top of the Billboard Hot 100 and then conquered the world, hitting #1 in the UK, Australia, Canada, and Spain. It was a global phenomenon, the kind of hit artists dream of. At just 17 years old, Sean Kingston was a superstar. His self-titled debut album sold over 1 million copies worldwide, and he found himself sharing stages with and opening for global acts like Gwen Stefani and Beyoncé. He wasn't a one-hit wonder. He followed up his initial success with more infectious tracks, including Take You There and Me Love. His second album, Tomorrow, released in 2009, featured the massive dance track Fire Burning, which scorched its way up the charts and became a top 5 single. The collaborations were getting bigger and bigger too. He was featured on Natasha Bedingfield's hit Love Like This, and in 2010, he teamed up with one of the world's biggest rising stars, a young Justin Bieber, for the smash hit Eeny Meeny. He even launched his own record label, Time Is Money Entertainment, signing a then-unknown Tory Lanez. On the surface, Sean Kingston was living the ultimate dream, a young artist who had stared down adversity and, against all odds, conquered the music world. By 2011, Sean Kingston was at the absolute peak of his fame and cultural relevance. In July 2010, a very serious accusation emerged. A woman named Carissa Capilotto accused Kingston, his bodyguard, and a member of his band of a group assault in a Seattle hotel room following a Justin Bieber concert where he had performed. Capilotto, then 19, stated she was heavily intoxicated after consuming as many as 10 shots of vodka and was therefore incapable of giving consent when the alleged assault occurred. While criminal charges were ultimately dropped because prosecutors found her not credible enough to proceed at the time, the troubling incident would resurface years later. Then on May 29, 2011, his life and career were nearly cut short in a single violent moment. While riding a jet ski in the shimmering waters off the coast of Miami, he crashed with brutal force into the Palm Island Bridge. The incident was near fatal. He was rushed to Jackson Memorial Hospital in critical condition with a broken jaw, a fractured wrist, and water in his lungs. He spent weeks in the ICU and even underwent terrifying open-heart surgery to repair a torn aorta, a procedure that saved his life. The accident marked a clear and undeniable turning point. While Kingston would eventually recover physically, his career never regained its dazzling momentum. The magic, it seemed, had dissipated into thin air. In 2013, the very same year he settled the 2010 assault lawsuit out of court for an undisclosed sum, his third album, Back to Life, was a commercial catastrophe. Despite featuring prominent artists like Chris Brown and Wiz Khalifa, the album failed to chart, a stark and humiliating contrast to the wild successes of his earlier work. His hit-making streak had officially cooled. The consequences of the 2010 allegations have continued to follow him. In the years since, several of his performances have been canceled by universities, including the University of Western Ontario and Fordham. More recently, in May 2023, the University of Denver's programming board canceled their Music Fest just 1 week after announcing Kingston as the headliner. The announcement was met with a swift backlash from students on social media who pointed to the past accusations of misconduct. One student group posted, encouraging others not to attend, which led the university board to release an apologetic statement. Before we get to the shocking conclusion and the final collapse of Sean Kingston's empire, make sure you're subscribed to the channel and have notifications turned on. We explore stories like this every week, and you won't want to miss what's coming next. The scheme that ultimately led to the dramatic arrest of Sean Kingston and his mother was as audacious as it was surprisingly simple. Between April 2023 and March 2024, the duo went on a fraud spree that racked up over $1 million in stolen money and goods. Their method relied almost entirely on the power of Kingston's fading, but still recognizable, celebrity status. The con often began with Kingston contacting a company online, usually through social media, expressing interest in their high-end products. He would then invite the vendors to his rented 14,000 square foot mansion in the affluent enclave of Southwest Ranches, Florida. A perfectly curated stage prop used to project an image of immense and continuing wealth. He and his mother were convicted of stealing nearly $500,000 in jewelry. A luxury car dealer was conned out of a bulletproof Cadillac Escalade valued at $160,000. Another company was defrauded of an $86,000 custom bed. The endgame was always the same. When it came time to pay, Kingston or his mother would provide false assurances, often texting the victims fake wire receipts, but the money never, ever arrived. Banks were also defrauded during this period, with Bank of America losing over $200,000. The beginning of the end came in February 2024. A civil lawsuit filed by the fed-up television company, Ver Entertainment, triggered a full-blown criminal investigation by the Broward Sheriff's Office. On May 23, 2024, the entire house of cards collapsed in spectacular fashion. A SWAT team descended on Kingston's rented mansion as news cameras rolled, turning a symbol of fake wealth into a very real crime scene. Janice Turner was arrested on site. Hours later, Kingston himself was arrested in California, where he had just finished performing at the Fort Irwin Army Base. The pop star who once sang about beautiful girls was now in handcuffs, his dazed mugshot flashing across the globe. Section 4. The consequences. Justice is served. Following his dramatic arrest in California, Sean Kingston was extradited to Florida to face the music alongside his mother. The trial took place from March 24th to March 28th in Broward County, and after deliberating for approximately 3.5 hours, a federal jury found both Kingston and Janice Turner guilty of conspiracy to commit wire fraud and 4 counts of wire fraud. The prosecution laid out a damning and meticulously detailed case, presenting a trail of victims who all told the same story. They were lured in by Kingston's celebrity, charmed by his grand promises, and ultimately left with unpaid bills and fraudulent receipts totaling over $1 million. A key piece of evidence was a text message from Kingston to his mother, which read, "I told you to make a fake receipt, so it looks like the transfer will be there in a couple of days." The judge referred to his mother, Janice Turner, as the operator, fixer, and accountant behind the scheme. Citing her prior federal conviction for bank fraud from 2006, for which she served nearly 18 months in prison, she was sentenced in July 2025 to 5 years in federal prison. Kingston isn't the only star to see his public image crumble under the weight of his own actions. To see another story of a superstar's downfall and how fame can be used for personal gain, check out our next video on Drake. Fame hides everything until it doesn't.